So what would you actually do with your money if your debt just didn't exist? Seriously, think about that for a second. If every single monthly payment you are currently making, whether it's to a credit card company, a student loan servicer, or an auto lender, if it all just suddenly vanished, where would all that cash actually go? Hey everyone, I am Taylor Reed and welcome to Dollar Playbook. Today we are diving into a financial reality that affects almost all of us, but honestly, it is rarely discussed in full. We are going through a comprehensive explainer today based on some really fascinating insights from Wealth Logic. We will be breaking down exactly what happens to your life, your mind, and your wealth when you finally break free from consumer debt. Our main focus today is on something I like to call the invisible debt tax. We hear a ton about interest rates and payoff strategies, but the true hidden cost of those monthly payments, it goes way beyond whatever is printed on your credit card statement. Today, we are going to uncover how eliminating these payments doesn't just, fix your balance sheet, it completely transforms the trajectory of your entire life. All right, let's jump right in. Section 1, the two financial paths. To really get a grip on the mechanics of this, we are going to follow the journeys of two responsible, everyday professionals. They earn almost the exact same income and live in the same city. Let's meet Diana and Daniel. So Diana is 34 years old. She earns $67,000 a year, and by all visible measures, she's doing just fine. She budgets, she doesn't go crazy with overspending, and she's highly responsible. But she carries $23,400 in credit card debt, a student loan, and a car payment. All that adds up to $1,217 in mandatory monthly debt payments. Then, on the flip side, we have Daniel. He is 43, makes $71,000 a year, and here is the kicker. 3 years ago, he cleared his very last consumer debt payment. His income didn't change, but his cash flow absolutely did. Today, Daniel invests $1,100 every single month. On the surface, their lives look nearly identical, right? But behind the scenes, their monthly cash flow is telling a completely different story. Moving on to Section 2, calculating your debt tax. Let's see how this actually builds into the mathematics of Diana's situation. Most people vastly underestimate what their debt is actually costing them, mostly because they only look at the monthly payment, not the actual mechanics behind it. Let's break down a single payment. Diana pays $520 a month across her 3 credit cards. Sounds responsible enough, right? Well, at an average annual percentage rate of 22%, roughly $380 of that $520 payment is pure interest. I mean, she is paying $380 every single month just to stay in the exact same place. It isn't building wealth. It is literally just evaporating. And that brings us to a really crucial concept, the debt tax. This isn't just a simple interest rate. The interest rate is just a number on a screen. The debt tax is the compounding future value of every single dollar that leaves your account in interest payments instead of going toward your own investment contributions. It is basically the quiet, invisible forfeiture of your future wealth. To make this a bit more concrete, let's look at a pretty staggering number. $716,000. Yeah, if Diana took her total monthly debt obligation, that $1,217, and instead invested it into a basic S&P 500 index fund, earning a historical average of 8% annually, she would have $716,000 in 20 years. But because she is using that money to service past debt, she is quietly forfeiting nearly $750,000. And even without compounding, the math is still really sobering. If Diana just continues her current payment pace, she is going to hand over $26,100 in pure interest across her credit cards, student loans, and car loan. That is $26,100 of guaranteed lost money. Think about what that represents in your everyday life. That is a really solid house deposit, or maybe the seed capital to start a small business. But instead, it is just simply gone forever. All right, let's get into Section 3, the hidden mental cost. Now, the burden of debt goes far beyond just the math on a spreadsheet. Let's shift our focus to the psychology for a minute, because the hidden mental cost is actually profound. There is a fascinating 2019 study published by the National Academy of Sciences that tracked people before and after their debts were completely eliminated. Get this. When the debt was gone, anxiety dropped from 78% of participants showing clinical symptoms all the way down to 53%. That is a measurable 25 percentage point drop in diagnosable anxiety just from closing those accounts. You see, the brain doesn't just experience debt as a number, it actually experiences it as an open threat. Managing this constant background threat drains cognitive resources that would otherwise go towards, say, career planning or long-term decision-making. It is a massive career constraint. Diana is afraid to take a new job with a better growth trajectory because she is silently asking herself, wait, can I still cover my payments? Daniel, on the other hand, he confidently made a lateral career move to a different company with better equity upside just 18 months after clearing his debt. With no payments weighing him down, his floor dropped, which allowed his ceiling to rise.
So, Section 4, how to escape the trap.
The real question is, how do we actually get out? Let's transition into the exact practical methods you can use to start closing those accounts and regaining control of your cash flow. There are two primary strategies here. First is the debt avalanche. This is where you attack the debt with the highest interest rate first while paying the minimums on everything else. Mathematically speaking, this almost always wins out. Daniel actually used the avalanche method, and it saved him approximately $4,300 in interest. The second method is the debt snowball, where you pay off the smallest balance first. This one gives you quick mental wins, and as we saw from that research earlier, closing accounts is a huge psychological relief. Ultimately, though, the best method is simply whichever one you will actually stick with and finish.
But the real magic happens when you accelerate the process. Let's look at the sheer impact of acceleration on Diana's $23,400 of credit card debt. If she pays only the minimum, it takes her 9 years and costs her $21,000 in pure interest. Ouch. But if she can somehow find just $200 extra a month, she cuts that timeline down to just 3 years and reduces the interest cost to $6,000. Just finding that extra $200 saves her $15,000. It is honestly incredible.
And that brings us to Section 5, the post-debt playbook. We have reached the most crucial moment of the entire journey. What exactly do you do the moment that final payment actually clears? This is where a lot of people stumble right into lifestyle creep. But Daniel followed a very specific post-debt playbook. He redirected his freed-up cash flow immediately, like before it could accidentally turn into more takeout dinners or fancy streaming upgrades. Step 1. He paused for 3 months and built a solid 6-month emergency fund, ensuring he would never have to rely on a credit card again. Step 2, he captured his full employer 401k match, which, let's be real, is basically a guaranteed 50% return on his money. Step 3, he maxed out his Roth IRA, securing tax-free growth forever. Step 4, he moved on to maxing out his 401k contribution limit. And finally, Step 5, anything remaining went straight into a taxable brokerage account invested in low-cost index funds. He completely redirected his cash flow into wealth-building tools. And here is the beautiful result of that redirection. Just look at the compounding gap between Diana and Daniel over time. Because compounding accelerates, this gap doesn't just grow in a straight line. By year 10, Daniel is ahead by $200,000. By year 20, he is ahead by over $500,000. And remember, they aren't separated by intelligence or luck or even their income. The only difference is the redirection of that $1,200 a month away from the past and straight into the future. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly important question for you to consider today. What is staying in debt actually costing your future? Seriously, I encourage you to run your own numbers. Don't just look at the interest rate. Calculate the compounding future value of the money that is currently leaking out of your accounts. The people who close the wealth gap the fastest are the ones who realize that the cost of debt is simply no longer acceptable. Thank you so much for joining me today on this explainer. If you found this breakdown helpful and you want to continue taking control of your financial future, please take a quick moment to like, share, and subscribe to Dollar Playbook. I am Taylor Reed, and I will see you all next time.